Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Laura. I do motherhood videos, a lot of videos with my toddler, his opinion on things, the things he's loving. So if that's your sort of thing, then please, I'd love it if you checked out my channel. Today, I thought I would bring you my birth story. A few weeks ago, I filmed my pregnancy story, and I'll link that up here in case you want to go and look at that first, just so you're all caught up and you know roughly what's going on. But since filming that, I've had so many amazing messages about how much it's kind of helped people and things they've taken from it, and just things where they're wanting to see how my birth went. So for those of you that don't know, I had an elective caesarean. So I've had a lot of women asking me about that experience and how I knew that was the right path for me and everything. So I thought I would put it all in a video, and hopefully it clears a few things up and helps anyone thinking about that idea. Because a birth is such a personal thing, and there's so many different types of birth. It's so hard knowing which one you want. So this is just my story, how I felt about the caesarean, and it's in no way trying to influence anyone or trying to persuade anyone. It's just my personal opinion, and if anyone's got any more questions, anything else I want advice with, please send me a message. Either comment down below, or I'll leave my Instagram down below, so send me a message over there and I'll be more than happy to answer as many questions as you have. So I'm going to rewind a little bit and start from a little background story. So when I was 30 weeks pregnant, I went for a 4D scan, and it was amazing, you know, seeing his little face and everything, but they told me he was measuring big. So I went back to my midwife, who then referred me to the hospital, and yeah, the hospital confirmed he was measuring big, and you know, I had to take another gestational diabetes test, which then came back positive, which is why he was measuring big. And every week then I was having scans just to see if it was getting any smaller, and he wasn't. He was still big. It was mainly his head that was measuring big. Oh, I can't remember how many weeks I was, but after one of my scans, I think I was about 36 weeks, I believe, somewhere around there, I had to go and see a consultant just to talk about the risks of a big baby and, you know, different types of things they can do to help during the birth. So she basically scared the living daylights out of me. Later I was told that it's not true. It's not necessarily down to a big baby, but she was telling me that he could have had shoulder dysplasia, where his shoulder gets stuck under my pelvis bone. They'd have to kind of break it to get him out, and they're telling me that I'd need forceps, and they just, where I was thinking all through my pregnancy, I was thinking about either having a caesarean, having a hypnobirthing, or a water birth. They were the three I was mainly thinking about. And when she told me all of this, all that was going through my head is, I made up my mind, I want a C-section. I don't want to risk any discomfort to my baby, or the sound of forceps just terrified me. So I said to her there and then, I want a caesarean. And she gave me some leaflets and said, okay, go think about it. It's not something we encourage, but you know, just think about it and everything. So I went home and I was dead set in my mind. My cousin had one. And a couple of my friends had one, so I was just asking everyone every question possible. They're probably sick of me by the end of it, but yeah, any question possible I was just asking. I was Googling everything. I really did my research, and I thought, no, this is the route for me. This is the way I need to go. So when I was about 38 weeks, after a scan, they said, okay, you're going to go talk to a doctor and everything and just see about your birth plan, what sort of birth you want and everything. So I was like, oh yeah, that's absolutely fine. So I went in there and said, I want a caesarean. Now, just for anyone out there, if you want a caesarean and that is how you feel, then the doctors cannot tell you no. The doctors try to talk you out of it, not all of them, but some of them do try to talk you out of it because obviously it costs them more money. Yeah, they just think, at least try. But you're well within your right to ask for one and have one. I'm just putting that out there. You know, if you want one, you're within your right to have one. They cannot refuse you. So the doctor was trying to talk me out of it. He was telling me that he didn't want to do it. There's no reason I needed it. And then I was telling him about what the nurse said about the shoulder dysplasia and everything. And he goes, no, you know, that's not a risk to a big baby. That is, you know, a risk with any birth. And I was saying, look, I have really bad anxiety. I cannot handle this not knowing and all these thoughts now going around my head. I went, I need to know exactly, you know, when my baby's coming, how my baby's coming, and obviously the baby can come before your date, you know, they come anytime. But I was adamant, this is what I want. So he made a deal with me. He said, okay, I'll book you in at 39 weeks, and if you go into birth, you have to try. So I said yes, but in my head I was thinking, no, if I go into labour, I'm still having a caesarean. Like, that's what I want. Honestly, it was the best decision I made. I loved my birth. Like, for me, it was the perfect birth. And like I said, everyone's different. You know, some people really hate the C-section, but I absolutely loved it. So now let's actually get into what happened. And it's quite a funny story. I know people don't normally think of birth as funny, but this is quite a funny story. So there was a programme on that I needed to watch. So I was booked in. After like 8 o'clock at night or something, you can't eat, but then after midnight you can't drink. And my morning sickness was brought on by being hungry. So when I was hungry, I was throwing up. So just keep that in mind. So I was already not feeling my best. I had to be at the hospital about it's either 7:30 or 8 o'clock, around that time. I got up 2 hours earlier to watch my favourite TV programme that was on at that time. I needed to watch it, had to watch it, so yeah, I got 2 hours earlier to watch a TV programme, which is obsessive, but I needed to watch it. And it kind of calmed me down and relaxed me. So I had everything ready the night before, and again, that's what I loved about the C-section. I hadn't gone into labour, so I knew this is the day my baby's coming. You know, this time tomorrow, I'm going to have a baby. You just kind of know what's going on, you can plan it, and that's what I loved. My anxiety couldn't handle the unknown and not knowing what's going to happen. With a C-section, you know you're going into surgery, your baby's coming out, and then you just know, and that really did help my mental state. So we left the hospital. We thought it was going to be a lot of traffic on the motorway. So my mum was my birth partner. So we left. We got to the hospital about 10 to 7 or something in the morning. We was very early. We catered for all this traffic that didn't happen. So we got there, we went in, and we thought, we'll just sit around. So I'm not sure if they're nurses or midwives there, because there's no actual, but I guess there must be midwives. Sorry if you're a midwife, and this is something I should know, but I can't actually quite remember. They've got to have been midwives. But anyway, they told me to come in and sit, you know, take a bed. You know, they gave me the first bed. And while I was waiting for the other ladies came in, they was doing my checks. They were taking blood. They were listening to the heartbeat. They were doing everything they needed to. They're giving me the compression tights, which are not that pleasant. Because, you have a spinal, you're numb from the waist down. They're socks to stop you from clotting, your blood from clotting. So they're really tight and they're just not pleasant. But, you know, they're a necessity. So nothing really bothered me. I was just so excited that I knew that day I was going to see my baby. So they gave me everything, put me in a gown, and like I said, because I was so early, luckily, they was able to do all my checks and everything early. So I was then so lucky to be put first on the list. So 9 o'clock was when I was going in. And honestly, that was the best thing that could have happened to me, because I didn't really have time to think. When you're watching other people go, you probably feel a little bit nervous, but you know, I was the first one. I didn't have to watch anyone else, didn't have to wait. I was just so excited. And like I said, all these other ladies were coming in and they were doing their checks, and this lady came around asking for the blood from the cord, to if I want to donate my placenta and things, and I was like, yeah, absolutely fine, you know, take whatever you want. Obviously don't need it. So all the doctors, the nurses, the surgeons, everyone came around and was talking to me, telling me who they were. Half of them I couldn't remember who they were because there's just so many people coming in and out. It's quite hard. Yeah, we was told to obviously leave all of our clothes and cases and everything, leave them all in the car, just take the essentials. So that was baby's first outfit, something for me to change into afterwards, which I didn't need. I was stuck in the hospital gown for a long time. A nappy and milk. I didn't want to breastfeed at all, so I picked the formula, I researched it all, I chose Cow and Gate, and you can get these little hospital ones, so they're like these small little pre-made ones that are in these sterilised bottles and everything, and so I had some of them. I think that's all we had with us at that point, so obviously our phones and things. The doctor came round, it was probably, you know, roughly around 9 o'clock. They walked me into this corridor and you could see the theatres. There's like 3 theatres, I think. You could see the theatre. And this whole time, because I've got my tongue pierced and I've got quite a lot of piercings in my ears, I don't know if you can really see, but all my cartilage piercings I can't change myself, I need a piercer to do. So I took out these ones, I changed my tongue bar to a plastic one, but these ones, and I kept saying to them, what do you want me to do? Because I kept saying to my midwife beforehand, do I need to go and get everything changed? And she was like, no, it should be fine. So I just kept panicking, saying, what do you want me to do about my piercings? When I stand in the corridor, she just covered them up with tape, and I said, my tongue bar's plastic, is that fine? And she went, oh, I don't know. And I was like, oh, do you want me to take it out? Because they close up really fast. I think, is it within 2 hours? I believe, somewhere around there, your tongue can close up, and that's my favourite piercing. So I said, it's plastic. She went and asked the surgeon, said it was absolutely fine. So at that point, they said to my mum, just go down this corridor, whatever, say like 3rd door on the left, go in there and change into some scrubs. As soon as she said that, my mum, bless her heart, she kind of, I'm trying to figure out how to word this. She kind of, if someone tells her to go somewhere, she kind of panics and she forgets. If someone says go down, she's like, oh, okay, I've got to go on my own, and she'll sort of worry a bit. So I knew instantly she was going to get lost. So anyway, they sent her off, and I'm just like, oh no. Then they walk me into theatre. And I'm thinking, well, how is she going to find me? Is she just going to suddenly start peering through these windows trying to find me? So I'm sitting there. At the time, I had 2 gowns on, one covering on like the front and then one sort of covering my back, because obviously they don't close at the back, do they? So I went in there, they took the back gown off, and I was sitting on the edge and I was getting everything ready, and they was doing my spinal. And I turned around to the midwife and I said, have you seen my mum anywhere? She goes, oh, let me go and find her. So I was like, oh no, where is she? Like, where's she gone? Well, they put the first spinal in and it was fine. It's a bit like a, oh, but it didn't, I don't remember it hurting or anything the first time, but the first time it failed, so they needed to do it again. So at this point, my mum comes in through a door at the back, and she is sitting on this chair, and as they're feeling my back, I feel something click, and that really hurt. I'm not sure what they'd done, but I've had a lot of back pain since. My back pain could have been down to me being pregnant and the extra weight, or it could have been down to that, I'm not sure. But yeah, that was pressing. I just felt something sort of click in my back, and it was just, that really hurt. So then they're putting it in again, and as you know, it's going into your spine, so you have to stay as still as possible. So I'm kind of in a bit of pain, but they pressed on my back, and I'm trying to stay still. I look at my mum, and at this point, as they're about to put a needle in my spine, she turns around and says, "I've got men's scrubs on." And I burst out laughing, and the midwife really stood in front of me and was just holding me, and I was like, oh, okay. And they're putting this in, and I kind of looked down, composed myself. I looked back up, and she's going, honestly, they're falling down. And I was like, okay, do not look at her. Later, my mum did say to me, I could see you was in pain, so I was just trying to lift your spirits a bit. But yeah, if someone's got a needle in your back, it's probably not the best. So anyway, they do that. I can feel it kind of going in. It's really weird, and you can kind of feel yourself kind of going numb. So I'm laying down as they're doing everything. The anaesthetist comes over, and she's putting the cannula in my hand, just doing their bits. The surgeon said to me, "Do you want me to lower the curtain to see your baby when it's born?" And I kind of freaked out a little bit there. I was like, oh no, I don't want to see kind of like what's going on down there. And then he goes, no, you won't see anything, just lower. And he goes, I tell you what, I'll let you know, and you can decide when your baby's born. I was like, yeah, fine. So I'm laying there, and next minute I feel myself sliding, but because I'm numb, I could only feel my shoulders going. And I said to her, am I falling? And she was kind of looking at me. And there was a midwife sort of sitting next, oh no, sorry, it's the anaesthetist sitting next to me. And I said, I think I'm falling. And no one was listening. And I went, honestly, I'm falling. And then next minute, Mum goes, oh my gosh, it's about to fall out, and grabbed me to stop me from falling off. And they're sort of tilting the bed into the right position, but they just tilted it a bit too much. And yes, and they quickly tilted it back the other way. And then I was going, I think I'm falling again. And then they quickly, but because of that motion, like I said, I don't do well on empty stomach. So next thing, I threw up everywhere, all in my hair, all over my gown. It was everywhere. So they're trying to clean me up, and because I can't move, I couldn't move for them to get it. So yeah, I'm just laying there, and then they start, and because you can't really feel, it's a weird feeling. You can't feel pain, but you can feel them inside. Like, it doesn't hurt. You can just feel sort of rummaging around your tummy, and it is a bit like a kind of, but it doesn't hurt. It's just a weird feeling. So I think within I went in at 9, and then at 9:35 Oliver was born. So a lot of that obviously was then putting the injection and getting ready and everything. So I think it wasn't long after when they doing that. I think it was like 5 minutes actually, thinking about it, because what they do is they obviously cut and they rip the muscle and your kind of everything to get to the baby, because a tear is easier to heal than a cut. So they tear everything, which sounds awful, but you can't feel it. You can feel, like I said, the rummaging around. Next minute it was, do you want to see your baby? And I was like, oh, okay. So they lowered the curtain, held him up. I burst into tears. My mum cut the cord. So what they do is they cut it quite long, obviously from me, and then my mum went round and then she cut it shorter. But that's not guaranteed. It only depends on how well the caesarean goes, so if you're actually allowed to or not. Because obviously if there's a bit of complications and they don't really want anyone around. So obviously everything went absolutely fine, so I went round, and then I heard the midwife say, wow, that's a big head, no wonder she wanted a caesarean. And I was thinking, what? Then my mum went round and saw him, she went, wow, that's a big head. And I'm thinking, and I sort of looked at the anaesthetist and I was like, what's wrong with my baby? And she went, nothing, can you not hear him crying? He's fine. I was like, what's wrong with his head? So, yeah, my mum came back, sat down, and she'd taken some photos of him, just been born. And she sat down and goes, oh, 10 fingers, 10 toes. I went, what's wrong with his head? And she goes, nothing. Anyway, they finished doing their checks with him, you know, measuring and doing everything, and brought him round, and I couldn't quite figure out how to hold him because I'd been up here, so my mum was holding him, but he was kind of like laying here, so his head was sort of like on my shoulder. So that was that. Then they sewed me back up, and the thing again I loved about the caesarean is because you're open, they're able to sort of soak up all the blood and get the placenta out, so you haven't kind of got to give birth and then push the placenta out. It's everything's kind of done, and where they're soaking up all the blood, you haven't got, well, I didn't have the really heavy period afterwards. It was quite light for me because they just soaked everything up. So did all that. They sent my mum off to get changed again, and I was thinking, oh no. Now where's she gonna end up? so she's doing that. They changed my gown for me, which I really appreciated, and was able to, you know, just clean me up a little bit, which I really did appreciate. Did that, gave me like skin to skin, and yeah, they did that, and then they wheeled me into recovery. So I'm sitting there in recovery, and I'm looking around and I'm thinking, my mum is not going to know where the recovery is. So I said to one of the midwives who came round, I said, have you seen my mum anywhere? And she went, oh, is she not back yet? Oh, let me go and find her. And my mum said, she just, she went back, everyone had gone. And she was just, I think she found like a bench or a chair, like a row of chairs or something somewhere, and she just went and sat there until someone came to find her. Yeah, she got rescued. She came to me, and she was you know, sitting there and taking pictures, and because everyone's obviously texting her going, oh, you know, how is he? And before I forget, he was £8.6, so he wasn't a big baby, it was just he had a big head. His head, I don't quite still understand this, but the centile line, I think like 50 is average, then you've got like above average or below average. He was 98% centile, so they said something like of all the babies born that day, he had like the second biggest head or something. They explained it to me so many times, but I couldn't get my head around what it meant. But he basically just had a really big head. There was nothing wrong with him at all. It just, I don't know why he had a big head, but he just had a big head. So, so yeah, taking pictures, I'm doing skin to skin, and they come and they show me how much of the milk to give him, and then I'm sitting there, and I said to my mum, I'm going to throw up. And she goes, you think you are or you are? And I went, I think I am. And then I was, nope, and I again threw up everywhere. Again, nobody had fed me. So, which I know I had surgery and I know things, but my body is just going, feed me. I needed something to kind of line my stomach, especially with all the medication and everything. So I missed Oliver, so don't worry, I missed Oliver. So then they came and they gave me like a bucket, and I was like, you know, I didn't think they changed me again, changed the blankets and everything. At this point again, I'm still numb, so I can't really move or do anything. Yeah, I threw up a couple more times. You know, it's not nice, but I react like that with codeine, and it's just my body just doesn't react, especially on an empty stomach. So everyone was making phone calls, and Then after a little while I got wheeled into the wing, and we were very lucky. We had a window, we were like on the end, so we had like a window, so that bit of extra space. And so again, that was lovely. And again, my mum was with us for that. She was able to walk with us, so that was absolutely fantastic. She then went to go and get the bags and everything. So I said to her, make sure you know where you are. And she was like, okay. So she was looking around, she was looking at the numbers and looking at the wards, and she was just looking at everything. As I'm sitting there, I said, a midwife came out and I was like, can I have some food, please? And she goes, no, because you keep throwing up, we can't give you anything. And I said, I'm throwing up because I'm hungry. I need something to lie on my stomach, otherwise I'm going to keep throwing up. She goes, no, we need to let your body settle. And I said to her, please, I'm going to keep throwing up if you don't give me anything. So in the end, she reluctantly gave me a cheese sandwich. And she goes, just eat it slowly. She goes, if you throw up, then, you know, you do need to rest your body. And I was like, that's absolutely fine. You know, I'm more than happy with that. Just let me try and eat. Anyway, I slowly ate this sandwich and I didn't throw up again. So it was what I thought. It was just my body needed this kind of like this lining. And then my mum finally came back and I was like, what took you so long? She goes, they wouldn't let me in. And what do you mean they wouldn't let you in? She goes, they wouldn't let me in. They kept calling me a visitor. I went, but you've got like a case, a holdall, like another massive bag for the baby. I was like, clearly you're not visiting. And then they said, no, they kept saying to me, oh, she'll have her partner. She was going, I am the birthing partner. I was like, no, you can't come in, you can't visit. And she was like, no, I am in there with her. Like, there's no one there, go and look. So in the end, they let her in. But it was just, everything that was happening to my mum. It was so funny. So that is the first bit of the story of my cesarean, about me actually giving birth. I'll film another one of my time in the hospital and my recovery from the C-section. If there's anything I haven't covered, I'm sorry. It's hard trying to remember everything and remember what happened, but any questions at all, message me on any of my social medias, message me down below, that's absolutely fine. No question is too small. I mean, I was asking every question going, even to the point my belly button never popped out, and I was asking everyone, did your belly button pop out? Should I be worried? You know, if that's not a daft silly question, then I don't know what is. So feel free. Like I said, I will do my time in hospital and then the recovery, which I think most people will have the questions about, but that is my actual story of that. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you enjoy my content and you haven't yet subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.